In this video, we're going to solve a problem that include the slope of a line, point slope form of the equation of the line. Of course, we're going to find the equation of the line, find the distance between 2 points, the midpoint between 2 points, and the perpendicular bisector of the line that contains these 2 points. And we're going to conclude with finding the equation of the circle for which the segment of these 2 points is a diameter. Okay, so the first questions we're gonna answer is looking for the 2 points. Locate point P and Q on the XY plane. As you know, the XY plane is the Cartesian, coordinate planes where X is the horizontal axis and Y is the vertical axis. It's intersect at the origin for 0. So the first point, remember this point right here, we can call it x1, and this one we can call it y1. And then this one we can call it x2, and we can call this one y2. All right. The first point, x1, y1, x is negative 2 and y is 1. So we can locate the first point P on the second quadrant, 2, negative 1. The second point is x is 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then y is 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If we have 8 here, so Q is in the is in the first quadrant. Now that we answer the first question, simply they don't ask us to graph, only plot these 2 points and see in which quadrant they are located. The second question they ask us to answer here is to find the distance between these 2 points, P and Q. The distance formula, that means you need to find the distance if you graph what is the distance between these 2 points. That's exactly what we're looking for. What is that distance? To find that distance, there is a formula we can use. Distance is equal to square roots of x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. As I already stated that x2 is 6 and x1 is negative 2. So distance, I'm going to replace it by 2, by d. X2 is 6 and x1 is negative 2 square plus y2 is 8 and y1 is 1 square. When you add, 2 negative give you positive, so you end up having 8 square plus 7 square. By rewriting 64, 8 square is 64 and 7 square is 49. When you add these two numbers, it gives you square root of 113. You can either leave it as distance is equal to square root of 113, or you can convert it and it's gonna give you some decimal. As you know, square root of 100 is 10, square root of 121 is 11. So you know that distance value in decimal notation would be something between 10 and 11. Now that we find the distance, we can answer the third questions, which is find the midpoint. The midpoint is usually when you graph that distance. So where is located 50% of it? So we don't know yet, but suppose it is right here. So that's exactly what we're going to look for. Here, there is a formula to find the midpoint of 2 points, right? Midpoint is when you add the x's together, you divide it by 2, and you add the y's together and you divide it by 2. So remember, a midpoint gives you again a point with two coordinates, the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So x1 is negative 2 plus x to 6 divided by 2. y1 is 1 plus 8 divided by 2. So when you add these two, it's going to give you 4 over 2 and 9 over 2. So 4 over 2 is simply 2, so we know the midpoint. I'm going to write midpoint instead because M is not midpoint, so I was supposed to say midpoint. Okay, midpoint equal 2 and 9 over 2. Okay, third questions we need to ask to answer here. That will be the fourth question because we already find the distance. We find the midpoint. Now let's go with finding the slope of the line. So you know, for this line, if you're looking for the slope, there is a formula. Usually we call slope m. So the formula to find the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Y2 here is 8, y1 is 1, and x2 is 6, and x1 is negative 2. So the slope would be 7 over 8. This is the slope. Next questions. They ask us to find this the perpendicular bisector of the line that contains P and Q. In order to find the perpendicular bisector of the line, we need to know first if these two are perpendicular. You know, in order to for two lines to be perpendicular, we need to find the distance. I mean, the midpoint M2 should be equal negative 1 over m1. Or you said if you multiply the two slopes together, it should be negative 1. Now we need to look for the new slope because we consider having 2 points. So we're gonna go find m2. Okay, we know that m2 m1 equal negative 1 because consider the first one as m1. M1 is, we did it before, it's 7 over 8. Now m2, as you can see, we can solve here for m2, so m2 would be negative 1 over m1. So m2 would be negative 1 over 7 over 8, and that's what give us, when you have a fraction divided by a fraction, we keep the first one and we multiply by the reciprocal of the second one. Now this one become 8 over 7. Now that we have the second slope, we can use the slope and the coordinates of the midpoint. Now we can consider this one as the slope and the coordinate of the midpoint. We're gonna consider having a new point, which is 2 and 9 over 2. Using these two informations, we can eventually find the perpendicular bisector. So we can find the, let's say F, that was the E. I'm gonna write E right here. Find the perpendicular. You know what? I'm going to write it in a different slides. Okay. Let's consider writing it here. I'm going to continue here with the informations I find already. Remember, I'm going to use M2 equal negative 8 over 7 because we flip it, and we're using the new point x1 y1, the midpoint 9 over 2. Now to find the perpendicular bisector, all right, perpendicular what we do, there is always an equation. It's still the same type of equations we use. Y minus y1 equal m x minus x1. Okay, all we need to do here is to use the new slope. We know this is the equation of the line, and that equation of the line, instead of using our original slope, we use the new slope by thinking of, as we said, the perpendicular the perpendicular lines is m2 equal -1 over m1. So two lines with a slope m1 and m2 are perpendicular if and only if m1, m2 equal -1. Okay. The equation of the line is that one because we already know what is x1 and y1. So we're going to do y1 is 9 over 2. The new slope we have is -8 over 7. X minus x1 is 2. Now, y minus 9 over 2 equal -8 over 7x. 2 negative give you positive. 2 times 8 is 16 over 7. When we add 9 over 2 both sides, we end up having y equal -8 over 7x plus 16 over 7 plus 9 over 2. In order to add these two equations, to add them, we definitely need to have the same denominator. 7 and 2, what is the least common denominator between them is 14. So we're going to multiply this one by 2, divide by 2, multiply by 7, divide by 7. Okay, we come back here with the same color. So y equal -8 over 7x plus 2 times 16 is 32 over 14 plus 9 times 7 is 63 over 14. By adding the two real numbers, okay, we have -8 over 7x. Same denominator, we can add the numerators. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 6 is 9. So we're going to have 95 over 14. Because there is no common factor between 95 and 14, we're going to leave it as is. We cannot simplify. The only thing we can do here is to rewrite the equations on the standard form, but we can leave it in slope-intercept form this way. All right, we answered that questions. We're going to continue to answer the last questions. I'm going to go on a different slide also to do F because that's F we're gonna do. For this one, they ask us to find an equation of the circle for which the segment PQ is a diameter. So remember, we said that when we plot these 2 points, you see the first point P is in the second quadrant, and the second point Q is in the first quadrant. So the distance, if you draw the distance between these 2 points, they consider that distance, the distance. Remember that distance equal the diameter. That's what we need to remember here. So what is the diameter? The distance. When we were looking for the distance D was square roots of 113. Now the diameter is square roots of 113. So I can say diameter equals square root of 113. Okay. Equation of the line, if you remember what is the equation of the line, so there is a formula. We know that the equation of a circle, let's say equation of a circle. What is the equation of a circle? Do you remember the formula for the equation of a circle? Okay, so an equation of a circle, first of all, to find the equation of a circle, you need to know the center, that has 2 coordinates, and you need to know the radius r. Okay, so usually we said the center is HK, okay, and the radius is R. Now we need to find these two information in order to draw find the equation of the circle. And once you have these two information, this is the equation of the circle. See, x minus h square plus y minus k square equal r square. Now we said h is the x value, k is the y value, r is the radius. We can go here and find the radius very easy because we know diameter is, if you know the diameter is 2 times the radius because, you know, when you have a circle, all right, the whole distance right here is the diameter, right? The whole distance is the diameter, but the radius is half of it. Okay, so we usually said diameter is 2r. So what is r? So that means r is d over 2. Okay, so what is r? D is square root of 113 over 2. Now we already have r. Let's continue to find hk. We can also use, in order to graph, I mean to find the equation of a circle for the segment, we're going to use the midpoint of the line segment. Okay, we're gonna consider the midpoint of the line segments 2, 9, which is the midpoint, as the center of the circle. Okay, so we have now our center is 2, 9 over 2. So h is 2 and k is 9 over 2. Now we can write down the equation of a circle because we have everyday information we need is x minus 2 square plus y minus 9 over 2 square equal r square. What is r square? Is square root of 113 over 2 square. Remember, they don't ask us to solve anything. They simply ask us to write down the equation of the circle. So it's end up having x minus 2 square plus y minus 9 over 2 square. Square root of 13, if you raise it to power 2, the square root is gone. We simply have 11, 3, I mean 113 over square root, I mean 2 power 2, because remember when you have a over b power n, you can give each of them their own exponent. So square root of 13 power 2 give us 13, and 2 power 2 give us 4. We can leave it like this, or we can divide 113 by 4. This is the equation of the circle, okay, for which the segment PQ is a diameter. Hopefully this video will help you to understand the lines and how to find the perpendicular bisector of a line that contains 2 points, or equation of the circle for which the segment of that of these 2 points is a diameter. Don't forget to subscribe. Have a good day.